Alright guys, so things aren't going well for Tesla. Ever since Elon became Trump's advisor, it's as if a curse hit America's most valuable car company. The stock price has been collapsing non-stop for the last few months. Year to date, Tesla is down by at least 33%, wiping out $800 billion from the market cap. It's so crazy that Trump, the president of the United States, is doing endorsements for Mars. He has bought a new Tesla and he filmed it at the White House. We are really in crazy town today. Now, this fall is due to the weakening fundamentals of both Tesla and the US economy as a whole. Profits are collapsing and sales are more than lackluster. People just aren't buying the cars. JP Morgan forecasts a further crash in Q1 deliveries. They are predicting a fall from 440,000 to only 355,000 vehicles. Now that's a 20% fall in sales. But what's worse is their stock prediction. The bank cut their price target to $120 when it is trading over $200 today. Another 30 or even 40% drop could be on the cards. So imagine the downside still left and how much damage it would do to the overall US stock market. It won't be pretty. And that's why it's really questionable when Musk is telling the world that Tesla is going to double vehicle output. Now, I have no idea how, but it tells us we are heading off a cliff when it comes to rational thinking.
As a function of the great policies of President Trump and his administration, and as an act of faith in America, Tesla is going to double vehicle output in the United States within the next 2 years.
It's
Double.
a big deal. That's great. Thank you.
Look, I get it. Elon Musk, he's in damage control mode, and if I were him, I'd probably do the same thing as well. But when he said production will double in the US as a function of Trump's policies, he really lost me there. Now, how is that possible? And we have to cover that. But the biggest crisis Tesla is facing is competition from a company Musk laughed at years ago. While Tesla stock is crashing, BYD shares have hit a new record high. In fact, the price is up by over 55% this year. And unlike the US company, this is based on solid fundamentals and technology breakthroughs. This is where Tesla has dropped the ball. It's the same story of how Volkswagen has lost to Chinese automakers. They just aren't innovating fast enough. Plus, thanks to manpower costs and expensive energy, the cost of R&D in the West is much more expensive. Trying to reshore production back to the US sounds great on paper, but in reality, building cars in a factory in Shenzhen just makes more sense. Now, BYD just revealed their new lineup of EVs that confounds every other competitor in the world. The vehicles can be charged in just 5 minutes while providing a driving range of 250 miles. That's an incredible distance that works for the majority of people. It's on par with refueling a gasoline car, sometimes even faster. But what's crazy is the speed of implementation. BYD will start selling EVs with a fast charging technology in April next month. And this takes away a big hurdle to EV adoption. People who are impatient now have no gripes left. Despite what the West believes, China isn't copying other companies, at least not anymore. They are at the forefront of innovation and they are mopping the floor with G7 automakers. We are in 2025 and things are very different today. When it comes to speed charging, BYD is the world leader. They can do 400 km in 5 minutes. Mercedes is third with 325 km in 10 minutes. Tesla is all the way at the bottom of the list. Their charging speed is twice as long as BYD. And here's the funny part. The only real competitor BYD has is Li Auto, which is another Chinese company. It is how fierce competition is in China. They aren't just content with cheaper cars of the same quality, they are upping the ante and they are trying to disrupt themselves before the West catches up. And all this while Elon is busy slashing federal workers with Doge and making fun of Canada on Twitter. Now, China is focused on the price and they are throwing everything they have to make the perfect car. Now, do you remember DeepSeek? Well, BYD just integrated the Chinese AI into their cars, creating the God's Eye self-driving system on all models. And this is the brilliance of the Chinese ecosystem. Now, sure, they compete with each other, but complementary industries, they work closely together. You don't really see BYD wasting time to create their own AI model as an ego boost. And as a result, BYD cars are even more decked out at a competitive price. The EVs retail for as low as $9,600, and without a doubt, it undercuts competitors like Tesla by huge margin. And now that BYD has the fast charging feature, does that make them more competitive or less competitive than Tesla? And that's why Elon's company is in crisis mode. It's unfortunate, but his attention needs to be shifted from the White House back to Tesla. Now, when he mentioned doubling US production within the next 2 years, I really doubt it would happen. I mean, anything is possible, right? We live in a clown economy today. But all of US trade policies are highly against the US auto industry. And the staff, The Apprentice, has just hammered the nail in the coffin. Trump has confirmed there will be no exemption from his steel and aluminum tariffs. The 25% import tax is going to stay, which will be horrible for US car makers. Now, Elon isn't stupid, I'm quite sure of that. He knows the consequences of the tariff. And let's just do a very simple analysis of the situation. And let's quantify how big of a disaster this will be for car prices in the United States. Now, when you make a car, especially a Tesla, you have to use a ton of aluminum. It's a lightweight metal that comprises of the entire body kit and parts of the battery as well. In the US, transportation accounts for 36% of all aluminum consumption. By slapping a 25% import tax on this input, it drives the cost up for EV production. Other industries like buildings, machinery, and electricals will also get hammered, and indirectly, that also adds more cost for automakers as well. The services and the equipment will cost more to procure, plus the factories will cost more to maintain. How is this good for making affordable cars? It's not. Tesla is really behind the 8 ball in terms of technology. Now, sure, you can impose a 100% tariff on Chinese EVs, but who suffers the most? It will be the US consumer at the end of the day. They will be forced to pay more. But US producers will fill in the gaps. They will come. This is what we've been hearing, right? They will raise production and slam down the prices in the United States. Now, I hope you don't believe that fallacy because that's not how supply and demand works. Trump has said a lot of wild stuff, but when it comes to tariffs, he's trapped in his own world, and he hasn't left his echo chamber filled with sycophants. In fact, imported aluminum accounts for 82% of total US demand, which means the US has no choice but to import more from producers like Canada or Mexico. And because of this extreme dependency, suppliers can play hardball and force US importers to eat the tariffs. Whoever came up with the tariffs, well, they just doomed the US auto industry into irrelevance. Now, could Tesla's domestic sales rise as a result of the tariffs? Might Elon be right about increasing production? Well, short term, it might happen, but it probably won't last for long. Thanks to Trump's tariffs, new car prices could increase by at least $4,000, and some estimates put it as high as 12 grand. And if you're looking to buy an EV like a Tesla, the increase could be even higher. So Tesla has to choose. Do they eat the tariffs and see their margins collapse, or do they pass on the import tax to consumers? And either option will be disastrous. You crash your company profits or you destroy US consumer demand. And I hope you don't think consumers are flush with cash. US retail sales barely rose last month after the big fall in January, missing all the estimates. It's not even at 0.2%. That's horrible considering 12 months back, retail sales growth was 5 times stronger. Consumers are not spending because either they are broke or they are bracing for impact. And this is the problem with Trump's trade war. There's no off-ramp strategy. Either he collapses the world and brings production back to the US, or the world crashes the US economy. And the biggest pain hasn't even begun. Just wait until April. Trump has promised to punish the global economy with even bigger tariffs.
But there will be very little flexibility once we start. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for the United States of America. The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership, grossly incompetent. I gave you an example of Ireland. I would have never let that happen. Impossible for that to have happened. But we're going to take back our wealth, and we're going to take back a lot of the companies that left are coming back, if you haven't read.
Now imagine you're a foreign consumer in Canada, Europe, or Asia. Trump is going to clobber your economy with reciprocal tariffs. and there's a chance you might lose your job as a result. So do you think you'll be ecstatic and just dying to buy US goods? Chances are you won't. Either you'll be too broke, you don't have a job anymore to buy, or you're too angry to buy. And Tesla is bearing the brunt of the anger. Sales in Germany and Australia have dropped by over 70% year over year in February. Sales in China has also crashed by almost 50%. Meanwhile, BYD has increased their own sales by 90%, and that's why the US auto industry is facing the perfect storm. Trump is not just raising domestic production costs, he is unleashing a wave of anger against US goods around the world. Instinctively, the world, well, they don't like bullies, and the only way to retaliate is to shop locally and avoid US goods. Countries themselves might be too afraid to counter tariff the US, but their consumers on the ground can always choose simply not to buy US products. And this will only help Chinese car companies, and across the world, they are getting more market share because they are cheaper and they are better. From Turkey to Brazil and Thailand, Chinese EVs are winning more market share. They are doubling or tripling market share in just 2 years, especially in Asia. And now that sentiment have shifted against the US, Chinese cars will benefit. More BYDs, NIOs, and Li Autos, they'll flood the global market. Tesla conversely will lose out. So can the US auto sector recover? Well, not with Trump's trade war going on. He's maneuvering the ship towards an iceberg while the hull is really leaking water. Trump's economic team are all singing the same song. They know that the recession is coming, and now the latest tune is all about how the US consumers have to be prepared to pay higher prices.
Access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. The American dream is rooted in the concept that any citizen can achieve prosperity, upward mobility, and economic security.
Mr. Secretary, are you there essentially saying that the Trump administration is comfortable to have consumers pay more for goods in America?
Not at all, Kristen. What I was saying is the American dream is not let them eat flat screens. That if American families aren't able to afford a home, don't believe that their children will do better than they are. The American dream is not contingent on cheap baubles from China, that it is more than that, and we are focused on affordability, but it's mortgages, it's cars, it's real wage gains.
Now, I have no idea what the American dream is today. I used to have an idea, I had a concept of it, but Besant, he just messed up my head. Like Trump, he's living in a twilight zone. If prices and inflation goes up for people, they won't be able to spend on anything else, let alone a new home. This is a clown economy. So things are looking really dark in general, but even worse for the auto industry. So it's really time to brace for impact because April is just 2 weeks away. But let me know what you think. Is Tesla in big trouble? And are we really headed towards a US recession? Let me know in the comments below. Stay safe. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe as we navigate through this crazy time.